Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. In the last video, we discussed about the first two cellular adaptations, which are atrophy and hypertrophy. In this video, we'll be discussing about the remaining ones, which are hyperplasia and the metaplasia. So let's get started with the lecture. Okay. So hyperplasia means the increase in the cellular number only. Okay. So question must arises in your mind, why does hyperplasia occur? It's not because cells are just sitting and they just wanted to do some hyperplasia. No, there's reason behind it. We have got two reasons behind it. So we'll be discussing them one by one. Okay. So consider this is the normal cell. Okay. This is the normal cell. Okay. If this cell, due to excessive stimulation of growth factor, this cell due to the excessive stimulation of growth factor start proliferating at much more higher rate than the normal. So because of this proliferation, hyperplasia occur. So this is the first reason, because of the mature cell getting stimulated by the growth factor at much more higher rate than the normal. So this is the first reason. Now talk about the second reason. It is because of the increased proliferation of stem cell. Okay. What is stem cell means? Stem cell is a cell which divides into the daughter cell, but alongside dividing, their number is also maintained. How does it maintain? Okay, let's understand it through the diagram. If this stem cell has to divide into the daughter cell, it will divide. The daughter cell is formed. Alongside daughter cell, there is also stem cell copy. Okay, so there is also a stem cell copy. Therefore, they can maintain their original number. Okay, so because of the excessive stem cell proliferation, hyperplasia can occur. Okay, so this is the second reason behind hyperplasia. Now, let's talk about the types of hyperplasia. Hyperplasia could be physiological as well as the pathological. Okay, so let's discuss about physiological first. Physiological hyperplasia occur in the breast during pregnancy and after puberty. Okay, when does it occur? It occurs during pregnancy and after puberty. Where does it occur? It occurs in the breast. Okay, it occurs in the breast during pregnancy and after puberty. Okay, so this is the first example. Now let's talk about the second example. Second example is the compensatory hyperplasia. Okay, compensatory hyperplasia. What does it mean by compensatory hyperplasia? Consider a normal tissue. If because of some accidental injury, the part of normal tissue is removed, and because of the proliferation of the remaining cell, the cell which has left behind, the cell proliferate to regain the normal size of tissue. The mechanism involved in it is known as compensatory hyperplasia. Okay, let's talk about the liver. If because of some reason, it could be cirrhosis of liver or some carcinoma, the part of liver tissue is removed, and if the liver tissue regain its size, the mechanism involving it is known as the compensatory hyperplasia. So why does it occur? Let's talk about it. Okay, so we have got, after the removal of some part of liver, some cells, some tissue part is also left behind. These remaining tissue, the remaining cell releases some growth factor, and this growth factor causes the proliferation of these cells, therefore gaining the normal liver size. The mechanism is known as compensated hyperplasia. Now talk about the pathological hyperplasia. Pathological hyperplasia occurs in the endometrium. Okay, why does it occur? Let's talk about it. So after every menstrual cycle, there is the burst of cellular division in the endometrium, in the secretory cells of endometrium, which is controlled by the two hormones, which are estrogen and the progesterone. Estrogen acting as a stimulatory hormone, and on the other hand, progesterone acting as an inhibitory hormone. But because of the imbalance between these two hormones, the cellular division, cellular proliferation in the endometrial cells increases, thereby causing the endometrial hyperplasia. Unfortunately, this endometrial hyperplasia has got the most chances of getting converted into the malignancy. Okay? Most chances of getting converted into the malignancy. Second example is the BPH. It occurs in the elderly male patients. Why does it occur? It occurs because of the increased androgen secretion. Fortunately, this BPH has got least chances of getting converted into the malignancy. Okay. Third example is the wars occur due to the human papilloma virus. Okay. So the genes of these human papilloma virus encode for certain growth factors. Okay, so these growth factor causes the proliferation of skin cells and therefore causing the warts, skin warts. Okay. Also, the genes of infected cells releases growth factor, which can also cause the warts, skin warts. Now let's talk about some additional points. We are done with the types of hyperplasia. Now talk about some additional points. You must remember that the lactational breast undergoes hypertrophy only. Okay, but on the other hand, the breast during pregnancy and after puberty undergoes both hypertrophy as well as hyperplasia. Okay, so this must be clear to you. So you must have to keep these points into your mind, in the mind. Okay, so now let's talk about metaplasia. So we have already discussed that the metaplasia is the conversion of one type of mature cell into the another type of mature cell due to stem cell reprogramming. So right now we'll discuss about what does it mean by stem cell reprogramming. What the heck this stem cell reprogramming is. Okay, so now let's take this lung tissue as an example. So lung tissue, a lung or respiratory tract has got columnar cells. Okay. Okay. So the respiratory epithelium is the columnar epithelium. So these epithelial cells, due to the prolonged stress, it could be smoking or any other factor, but mostly smoking. Because of the smoking, these columnar epithelial cells send some signals to the stem cells. Okay. And these stem cells now, in spite of getting converted into the columnar cell, they gets converted into the squamous one. Okay. So what is the advantage of a squamous cell? So now these squamous cell can withstand the impact of smoking. Okay. This must be clear to you. Now let's talk about the types of metaplasia. We have got two types of metaplasia. Okay, first one is the epithelial metaplasia, and second one is the connective tissue metaplasia. This also known as the mesenchymal metaplasia. Let's talk about them in detail. Let's talk about epithelial metaplasia first. Epithelial metaplasia is further of divided into the epithelial metaplasia is further divided into the two types. First one is the squamous. The second one is the columnar. Okay, let's talk about squamous first. The best example of squamous metaplasia. Let's talk about the best example. It occurs in the respiratory tract. How does it occur? We have already discussed. Okay, so let's talk about it again. This columnar cell of respiratory tract, due to the prolonged stress, which is smoking, gets converted into the squamous. Okay, so now these squamous cells can withstand the impact of smoking on it. There is also reason behind. There is also another factor involved in it, which is the vitamin A increased or decreased level in the body. Due to the increased or decreased vitamin A level in the body, squamous metaplasia can occur. Okay, because we have already learned that vitamin A is involved in the regulation of cell proliferation. So because of the imbalance in the vitamin A, there can be metaplasia. Okay, so the second example is the columnar metaplasia. When does it occur and where does it occur? The best example of the columnar metaplasia is the Barrett's esophagus. Okay, Barrett's esophagus. Okay, so due to the GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disease, the acid from the stomach comes into the contact with the normal mucosa of esophagus. So this mucosa is made up of squamous cells. These squamous cells cannot withstand the impact of acid. So that's why they have to be converted into the columnar epithelium. So how can columnar epithelium withstand the impact of this acid? Okay, so let's try to learn this. Because this columnar cell has got mucin granules. Okay, so these mucin granules releases mucus. So this mucus neutralizes the impact of acid on it. Okay, so question must arises in your mind: how can we visualize these mucin granules on microscopy? We have got an strand known as Elchen blue strand. Elchen blue strand. So this guide help us to visualize these mucin granules. Because of the presence of these mucin granules, this metaplasia is also known as intestinal metaplasia, because intestinal mucosa is made up of columnar cells, and these columnar cells also contain the mucin granules. That's why this metaplasia is known as intestinal metaplasia. Okay, intestinal metaplasia. Now let's talk about the connective or mesenchymal metaplasia. The best example of connective metaplasia is myositis ossificans. Okay, so let's learn about it. We have got this normal muscle cells. Okay, the normal muscle. This normal muscle has got its blood supply as well. Due to any injury, if these muscle blood vessels gets ruptured, if intramuscular hemorrhage is occurring, the blood comes in contact with these normal muscle cells. We have already known that blood has got higher level of calcium within it, and this calcium comes in contact with these muscle cells, and now these muscle cells gets calcified and gets converted into the bones. The phenomenon which causing the Calcification of these muscles is known as myositis ossificans, and this is the golden example of connective or mesenchymal metaplasia. Okay, let's talk about some additional point related to the metaplasia. We have already studied so many examples of metaplasia. All those metaplasia has got tendency of getting converted into the malignancies, except for the metaplasia, the apocrine metaplasia of breast. All the metaplasia has tendency to get converted into malignancy, except for apocrine metaplasia of breast. Okay, so with this, we are done with our lecture. We have studied all the types of cellular adaptations, which are atrophy, hypertrophy, hyperplasia, and metaplasia. Atrophy means decrease in cellular number and cellular size both. Hypertrophy means increase in the cellular size only. Hyperplasia means increase in cellular number only. And metaplasia means the conversion of one type of cell into the another type, mature cell into the stem cell reprogramming. Okay, so thank you for watching my video. Stay tuned.